Simonis, BLM archaeologist for this area, the only one. Unfortunately, our other archaeologist, this is his last day, but we are replacing him, so we'll go back to at least having 2 archaeologists for our 1.8 million acres. I think the PACUS conference is going great so far, especially when the PA system is working nicely. That's a good sign that everything's going well. Just wanted to run over some of the projects that we have going. I want to thank BLM management for supporting archaeology and cultural resources. A lot of places do not. And I think it's a great thing that our management realizes that research is an extremely important part of archaeology. We can't be spending all of our time and money and efforts on just trying to protect sites. So we need that too, but so far they've allowed me to run with a lot of research projects, and I hope that continues in the future. In particular, I'm trying to promote universities, schools, and even individuals to do research here in this area. And I don't care if you do not have a degree, as long as you come up with a reasonable research design. Sometimes people know more about things that are not professional archaeologists. Professionals do. So I'm totally open. If you can come and approach BLM with a research project, a research design, I am insisting now that everything be done under permit or direct supervision of the BLM. The reason for that is if you're under permit, you are obligated to turn in reports and produce things. If you do not do that, then you're not going to be allowed to go out and do research. So just run through very quickly some of the things that are going on. Eastern Utah University right here in Blanding, Bob McPherson and I are involved with oral history projects. In particular, we've done a project we completed just recently where we found out that one of the historic structures that we thought was a historic trading post, when I first came here 5 years ago, it was even called the Weatherill Trading Post down on the San Juan River. Well, it turns out no connection to the Weatherills, and also it's not a trading post. So I put out a wanted poster at a Friends of Cedar Mesa gathering we had about a year and a half ago, and it wasn't 30 minutes that I had a Navajo lady come up to me and say, "That's our old homestead." So anyway, sometimes it pays to ask the local people things, what's going on. Washington State University has continued to do research projects, and I really appreciate that Bill Light, how should I put this, is cleaning up things from 40 years ago. And that's a wonderful thing, because so many times in archaeology that does not happen. But currently we're doing a georeferencing project under contract where a lot of those sites are being pinpointed and put into GPS and GIS, and things are done with them that shouldn't have been done. Well, they couldn't do them back then. I was up here 43 years ago working for the Monticello National Forest. And you know how we did it was spread out our aerial photographs with our stereoscopes and pinpoint where we thought we were. And sometimes we were there and sometimes we weren't. University of Utah and Brigham Young University doing a variety of projects, isotope analysis on faunal remains. We're finding out some interesting things that maybe back in the early days basket maker times that men and women were eating different food sources. You know, that's the kind of stuff that, you know, that science can actually show us and tell us about. Studies on chocolate, you're going to hear more about that. Fascinating things. Good chance we're going to find out that we have numerous locations over the Southwest where chocolate was being utilized, particularly in P2 times. Jim Allison is continuing to do some really sophisticated studies on ceramics. You're going to hear more about that tonight. And neutron activation things, and just amazing scientific things that can tell us more than just the general digging up things and looking at them. New Mexico State University has been doing mapping and inventory, and this is an amazing story. Just recently, a couple of our site stewards out on Alkali Ridge approached the Park Service and working with them for the National Historic Landmark out there. And the Park Service decided to cough up $12,000 for additional inventory out there. And we'll be working with New Mexico State University on that. So that's fantastic. And I do particularly thank Larry Boyce and Jim Kern for doing what I would have liked to have had the time to do and get this type of research going. We have Jim Crable and Natalie Cunningham, who have been doing, I think, amazing, diligent work now for several years here in the area, making detailed notes, taking accurate measurements, documenting what problems that are at various sites, and coming up with some very I'll use the word that's been used for some of my previous papers, provocative information. And, you know, those need to be verified, but we all know that in particularly archaeoastronomy, it did exist, but, you know, where do you draw the line between true science and truth and speculation? But those studies are welcome. We also have Kevin Conte from New Mexico State University, and Virginia Woolf is also doing some research that may be very productive. The University of Arizona, particularly Ben Colorado, you saw the work that he's doing, fascinating things, and just information that people, you know, haven't really looked at before. It takes time to really, especially in the dark interiors of some of these rooms or kivas, to really look and see if there's any minute scratches or engravings or traces of paint left. As far as individuals, numerous people, and if I forget any of you, fine, but I just want to tell you some of the people that are individually really contributing their time to research projects here. Particularly Sally Cole and Ann Phillips and Lee Grinch, a BLM archaeologist, giving their own time for many of these projects. Recording sites, particularly rock art, but other sites in addition. Dave Manley, Byron Loosley, who's now our BLM lead archaeologist in Washington, D.C., continues to really like this area, and that's good for me because that means I can get money to do things. Daniel Catrone is going to be working down in Montezuma Canyon on some very intriguing shrine types that we had down there. You know, when we don't know what something is, we always call them shrines or sacred areas. But there's definitely something going on many of our problematical sites down there. Winston Hurst. Well, I'll tell you a little story about Winston. Winston does more than any other 10 archaeologists that I know of. He's an amazing individual, and I watched him particularly I watched him on several sites this year, but on particular one I was really impressed. This is a site called the Polychrome site, which has over 32 flute players in polychrome colors of at least 6 different colors of paint. But what Winston did was find the total site boundary. And he went out and realized that there was later features there and recorded that from just a handful of sherds. Winston was able to say, hey, this is early P2, and pin it down exactly to the time period, and looked at things that most archaeologists wouldn't look at. So I hope Winston has many more decades that he continues his work here. Tom Wines, again, all I can say is Tom is unbelievable. The maps that Tom produces are the finest archaeological maps that I have ever seen. They're the most detailed and amazing maps, done with generally a plane table and alidade. And some of you people probably don't even know what an alidade is. But, you know, this is technology that's over 50 years old. But if you know how to use it, and especially in areas where you cannot use sophisticated technology, it's fantastic. Lori Webster, again, I don't know how we could replace Lori. With the knowledge she has and the willing to do it. And a lot of these people are doing this research on their own time and their own dime. And that's, and all of you came here, you know, not paid, most of you, and it's just wonderful. I hope you keep up your interest in archaeology. Walt Layton in Salt Lake City has turned in some amazing rock art records that are going to be very useful to BLM. Sandy Dan, our Utah Site Steward Coordinator, amazing individual, and has really done a good job, and hope she continues to do that for many more years. I'd like to thank all the site stewards that we have. They are such an important part of our information here and protecting things here. Friends of Cedar Mesa, a new group that's just doing a fantastic job, and I can see it really growing in future years. And Marcia Simonis. Marcia Simonis doesn't generally get much recognition, but I would like to say my wife is amazing. She spends more time and more hours and delves into everything, and we discuss things. And I know some of your spouses are not into archaeology, and that's, I think, a very unfortunate thing. But Marcia is equally into it, or maybe beyond, but I am. And, I'd just like to thank her for all the work she does and everything she is doing. All right, colleagues. One of the main problems we have here, as Josh pointed out, is looting. And this has been going on a lot more than the past decade. This has been going on from day one. You know, when first people came in here, you know, a lot of people in the 19th century even bemoaned the fact that sites had already been hit and looted, things going on. This is something we need to turn around. The BLM will not tolerate looting to any degree. We are going to be placing increased efforts to stop that. One of my goals is to try to not have another bust, another whole session of going out and getting people. But if people continue to do that, that is what's going to happen. One of the ways that we're going to try to turn that thing around is by education. I think education is the ladder that we need to take and draw up people and change their hearts and minds about how they behave. And so far, we've got some individuals in Blanding that we're working with the schools, and now at least twice a year we're having major programs with the students to expose them to history, to cultural resources, and to Native American values, and hopefully things are going to start changing. Last thing I'd like to say, all of you, you know, I feel kind of like being in the position of Sophie's Choice, where I have all my children, which are all my sites. And we've had to kind of pick and choose, and Cedar Mesa is it. please support designation for Cedar Mesa, whether it's a national conservation area or a national monument. It's a spectacular place, and that's what we're going for right now. Thank you.